Welcome to Bringing Hope Home. We're Bryce and Colette Schaffer, and we're on a mission to bring God's hope, healing, and practical strategies right into your living room. Whether you're navigating marriage challenges, parenting struggles, or just looking to build a stronger family foundation, we've got your back. Real conversations, biblical wisdom, and hope-filled solutions. That's what we're all about. So let's dive in and discover how God can breathe new life into your home and relationships. Hello, welcome to Bringing Hope Home. We are your hosts, Bryce and Colette Schaffer, and we are talking about joy this month of March. And I had to think for a second what month we were in. We were in March. So, we're talking about joy. As a church, we've been doing the fruit of the Spirit. And so we just thought, let's tag team
let's
with
dive
our church.
into that with families.
Yep, bringing it home.
Yeah, so it's kind of been nice, and I've enjoyed it the last couple that we've done, and however it turns out here, because there's 5 weeks of this a month, so 5 weeks of joy.
So today we are diving into joy in parenting. It's a lot of joy.
A lot of joy.
There's more joy in grandparenting.
Amen.
Now that we're grandparents,
I would have to say, enjoying parenting, remember there's seasons.
Yes.
There are seasons of all the different stages, all the different things. Mm-hmm. And, I think you just need to remember to just enjoy the moments because they go way too fast. And, and so we're just going to talk about that because it's a challenging job and role of a parent. It really is. And social media, technologies really have not made parenting any easier. Mm-hmm. And so what is parenting with joy supposed to look like?
Yeah, raising joyful children, in a challenging world. And I think we do live in a society that tends to look at the negative. And so we have to cultivate that in our homes. We have to cultivate joy in our families and in raising our kids, and teach them how to have joy. And again, we were talking about joy is a fruit of the Spirit. So, as Christians, we should have a joyful outlook. We should have the joy bubbling from the inside of us. And that's not saying that we have to be happy all the time, but it's saying that we have that root, that strength of joy found in Him, found in God. So that's what we want to pass on to our children, really, and teach them how to bring that joy. But then also on the natural level, just to have fun as a family and have fun with your kids.
Yeah, if you're not having fun as a parent, it will rub off onto your kids. They're going to see it. They're going to see right through whatever you're throwing at them, so to speak. And
you had to work to have fun.
I did have to work to have fun. Because to me, it was stressful to be a parent because I was responsible for turning out these productive members of society. And, it was very hard for me to not have control. I'm a control guy. I'm type A. What do they say? Firstborn. Callie always says, our daughter says, I'm whatever Enneagram 1 kind of guy. So kids throw that with a monkey wrench into it for a loop. Yeah. So and so I think one of the ways that I had to learn, and I had to, because every stage they got older, and so everything changes in parenting, but don't put unrealistic expectations on them, because that stole my joy really fast. It really, really did.
I think there's a huge balance of having fun with your kids and teaching them discipline.
Being their parent, not their friend.
Right. There's that real happy balance. Today, when I was teaching women's Bible study at our church, we were talking about having the fear of the Lord, and that's an actual good thing. And it's the same thing with our kids. We want to have them have a healthy fear of mom and dad, But in doing so, the more that you have a healthy fear, you actually have more freedom.
Right.
And so when we raised our children to respect our boundaries and to respect our rules and to really teach them, some foundational things, when they became teenagers, we had so much fun.
We did.
Our house was full of
Oh,
joy
yeah.
because it was just, a lot of fun. We had the liberty because those things were already set in place.
Right. Yeah. So start young. Train a child young in the way they should go.
Yeah.
Another thing I think you should teach your kids when it comes to joy is teach them optimism. This world doesn't breed optimism a lot of times. It's something that has to be taught and caught. And we as Christians should have a lot of hope, which is another word. It's a biblical word for optimism. And so we need to help steer our kids towards that optimism in all the things that they're dealing with. Don't just get mad. Don't just fix things. Steer them towards optimism. You can do this. As simple as that, to helping them see the other side of the coin kind of deal. That's a role of a parent. And I think that will foster joy and cultivate that, because optimism is a positive thing and joy is positive. So that's good. And another thing is helping your children control their emotions. It's huge. I mean, that was one of the things you really emphasized with our kids, especially when they were toddlers. Who can you control? And let's control our emotions. Our emotions don't control us. We can control them. Because again, if joy is from the Lord, it's not based on, that's not an emotional joy. That's the joy from Him, which is application of His character in us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't have to rely on, did I get the right ice cream to be joyful tonight? Mm-hmm. Or did I get to do what I wanted to do to be joyful and to be happy? And so that's another thing that, helping them control their emotions instead of the emotions control them is kind of huge. Another thing to do, again, I talked a little bit about screen time, promote more physical activity. I mean, I know sports are big in today's society. Sports and kids sports in particular are running rampant. And a lot of us don't go to church because we're into the sports seasons, whatever it is. But you can always find a season for a sport. But physical activity is good, and getting them to look beyond, 3 feet away or 2 feet away with their phones or video games, is important, I think, because physical activity is shown in studies to produce endorphins that help foster joy and success.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
that's
along
good.
those lines,
And that's our job, parents' job.
Yep. I think along those lines of fostering just a lightheartedness at home. You can make chores into a game, and kids are much more responsive to, what did Mary Poppins say?
Oh.
It's a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So it's about, finding the moments you can turn a task into something fun. I remember our kids, Callie and Nathaniel, so our middle and youngest, to do dishes or to figure out who was going to do dishes. Every night they would have a
rock, paper, scissors duel.
But they played out this whole duel. They would stand on opposite ends,
like an old Western spaghetti scene.
Yeah, opposite ends of the kitchen, and
a duel.
Yep. And they'd have the chink, chink. I mean, this whole production, and then they would draw, turn, and do rock, paper, scissors.
Yep, out of 3, best out of 3.
And that's how they decided who was going to do the dishes.
Yep.
And
made it fun. And
it made it fun. We giggled. It was just a lighthearted.
Yeah. And when they were real little, our oldest son, Ethan, loved the Comfy Couch on PBS. And in that, at the end of every show, it had 10-second tidy. And you would see the screen speed up and go get everything cleaned up that they got out that episode. And so we turned it into, that's how we were going to clean the room.
Yeah.
And so our 10 seconds sometimes got very long. But Ethan, I remember Ethan getting his head just going and just trying to go really, really fast, but not fast at all. And we would join in. I think too, with parents, it's not just telling them to do something, join in with them. Show them. Don't just tell them, show them. I think too many are you taking the trash out, and then we're mad that they don't do it the right way. Well, have you helped them with it? Have you modeled the behavior? Is very, very key to it. But the 10-second tidy was big when they were toddlers, and to help, ease the pain of cleaning up.
Yeah.
So those are always appropriate. Um, we got a lot that we could talk about, I guess, but
Well, I think the whole thing is just cultivating a home where joy abounds. Now, it doesn't mean that bad things, and situations and there's hard times that you have to deal with. But so you have to cultivate it. All of these fruit of the spirit is something that you cultivate. You have to. It doesn't come naturally.
right.
It's supernatural. So again, not a feeling, but you have to really tap into it, and you have to be mindful to bring in those moments, and like we've said before, to notice the little things. Be thankful for the little times and that you have with your children and with your teenagers. It's the little moments that you make it joyful.
Oh, for sure. I think so. And you can help them with their emotions and validate things, but say, okay, that's that, but we're going to choose something different. We're going to choose how to look at this. We're going to choose around um, what you're trying to drum up if it's negative. I think that's just key to always look at the positive in things. Um, with kids too, it's don't focus on perfection. Just, focus on effort. Effort's always key in life. As a basketball coach, we tell our kids, effort, attitude come before ability.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
I posted something on my social media, reposted. It wasn't mine originally, but something about that. My kids maybe weren't at the top of their class academically, maybe they weren't at the top of their sports, but we raised them to be kind and to, love people. And that's really the crown. I mean,
yeah.
that they
hmm
are good human beings. And yeah.
I think so. So again, it's not about the perfection. And me as a dad who, again, type A personality, always likes perfection in himself, in me,
Yeah.
and in what I can control, and my kids are part of an extension of me, I would think. And so that kind of it would trip me up at times. And so don't do what I did, for sure. Um, I think too, to cultivate joy is also trying to learn to cultivate planning. Don't be just a last minute. Now, last minute fun and joy, bring that in. Well, let's go get ice cream now. Let's go do this. I've said ice cream now, I think, twice in this episode, so maybe I need ice cream. But I think to manage stress, because stress and negativity will stifle joy. And too many of our lives that I've seen are run off of stress, run off of last minute, run off of I didn't plan well enough to get to this point. Kids just remembering right before they're supposed to get on the bus and the bus is pulling up to the house, you need to sign all these sheets of paper. That begins the yelling arguments and the why did you not last night. So a little bit of planning and prepping and will help the stress free of the home with your kids, but they got to see you cultivating it in your life too. You know, one of the ways you do it is you have a planner. You love your planner.
Mm-hmm.
You color your planner. You have stickies in your planner. You make it into the scrapbook of your life. I mean, it's you make it into a joyful thing, but you plan every night and you plan during the day and you give margins and it helps the day go a little bit easier and have some room in it. And I
Now,
think
I didn't always when the kids are little, but I don't plan quite like I do now.
no, you can't because you have kids. And I'm not saying to the nth degree where now you have no joy because you're planning too much.
Right.
Don't go to that ditch. But I do think, trying to minimize that stress and minimize, looking at planning the week.
Mm-hmm.
So communicating is key, even especially if they're teenagers or middle school on up. There's so many activities, so many different things, events that have to go on into your week. And yes, we're going to miss some. And so don't get mad at that and frustrated.
And I think, finding joy in every day is the little moments that you could get frustrated to turn it into, you got to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You got to laugh
agree.
at just the situations. I follow it sounds like I'm on Instagram all the time. I'm not. There's another couple that are just hilarious how they talk at the end of the night. They usually have some kind of dessert that they're eating weirdly, like they'll eat candy with a fork. Anyway, talk about something that had happened that day, and they just laugh. That's the only thing you can do with some of these things is just laugh at what your kids say or what happened. Things are going to happen, and you have to be expecting that that's just life. And those moments are going to happen, so you have to find the humor in them and be able to laugh at yourself, be able to laugh just at the situation, and know this doesn't last forever.
Right.
Just to find the humor in
it. And your joy isn't attached to those events or those expectations. They're attached to who you are in Christ, and you as a family are getting through whatever it is you're getting through and tackling it together. I think that's the joy part of it all. There is like you said, there's always disappointments. There's always struggles. But how do you love them through it? How do you find the right mix of countering that yuck of life? Is a wonderful skill to help your kids have. And, I think that kind of skill is even better than teaching them any of those sports. How to cope in life with a optimistic attitude and some joy will help for sure. So that's key to all this stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our time for today. And so thank you for joining us. And we would really appreciate it if you heard something that blessed you.
Yeah.
Pass it on. Pass this podcast on to somebody else, and we would really appreciate that. And until next time, bring hope home to your life today. And we'll see you later.
If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. See you next week.